So it is my great pleasure to introduce today to Professor Ruano. He was my PhD advisor actually, and he has been a great mentor over the years, both in science and in life, I have to say. So Oscar Ruano is a research professor in the National Center for Meta Research here in Madrid, and he has 3 doctorates. He has a doctorate in physics by the Complutense University, in metallurgical chemistry by the University of Stuttgart, and in material science by Stanford University. And he has carried out long-term stays in the Max Planck in Stuttgart, in Düsseldorf, and also in Stanford University. He has done 270 papers, all in the area of fluid, high-exponential formation, or forming, and he has advanced 10 PhD thesis. So I think it is a great pleasure and great honor to have him here today to share with us his experience in this topic. So,
thank you, Teresa. My great pleasure to be here to compete, I think. Okay. This talk is about fundamentals because Teresa asked me to talk on the general things. She didn't want the very specific things that we were working in the last year. So I'm going to talk on very general fundamentals matters on Crete. It is not an easy task because usually I give PhD or master courses and I have on this subject something like 400 or 500 dias and slides, and I have to resume everything in 50 or 60 slides, so I'm going to go a little bit fast, but I'm talking only to the fundamentals, and I will try to open boxes so we can put knowledge by reading books on these subjects. So I start immediately about what is drift of materials, and the first and more fundamental matter is time-dependent plasticity, or time-dependent deformation. And the first thing is almost a Bible. From the Bible, they say that Deborah, there was one of the few prophecies in the Bible, in the Old Testament, this is Judges 5:5, and she said, the mountains flowed before the Lord. And that's exactly what is Crete. Everything will flow. And I'm saying that, me, everything flows. We just need to wait. And this is a philosophical matter. People, because for one thing, every 3 papers on creep, they put in a threshold stress function. Threshold means no creep. And I don't believe in that. And it's very difficult to demonstrate because we don't want to wait. For instance, in geological matters, if you have 1 million years, there are mountains that have been shifted by shear stresses, and we will have about 10 kilometers distance from one part of the mountain to the other, and in 1 million years you will have a strain rate of 10 to minus 15 seconds minus 1. 10 minus 15 seconds minus 1 means a lot of time. A lot of time, million of years, 1 million years. More close to us, we received some 20 or 30 years from the Palacio de la Guerra. There were some lead pipes that just on the ground weight they were deformed about 20%. That destroyed the fountains, because the bonding between the pipes, they were destroyed. So we were investigating that and these lead pipes, and that was only about 20% in 250 years. This is from Charles I that built the fountains, and then we are having 3 times to minus 11. This is almost prohibitive. We cannot go to these extremes. So what we do is to make creep test. But this is the other fundamental thing on the experimental. You don't need to have a creep machine. The creep machine will be used only for lower strain rates. And this is the this is a creep. This is a grip curve, opposite or in contrast to the usual that we have in the MTS or the instrument machine that we have this. We can obtain grip data for both from this and from this. What is the difference? Here I apply a constant stress. What happens is we have an instantaneous deformation, then we have a primary grip, and then we have a steady state. We always work with a steady state grip. As you can see here, the slope of this curve gives us the strain rate. So we apply a stress and we obtain a strain rate. Here is the same, but different. Here we apply a strain rate and we obtain a stress. At the end, we have strain rate and stresses from both kinds of experiments. Difference between, we are saying creep is high temperatures. What is the difference between high temperatures and low temperatures? If we apply a constant cross-head speed machine, this is just a schematic, so low temperatures. We have curves like this, very little variation of this. That means that the strain rate sensitivity is very low. So we have not a big sensitivity to changes in the strain rate. In contrast, at high D, we have a strong variation. If we change the strain rates, we have a strain variation that gives us values of the stress exponent, as we will see later, that are very low. So this is the basics of the experiments on creep. Doesn't matter. We can use this or we can use this. The advantage of this is that we can go to lower strain rates. Here at the minimum, we have special machines, very constant machines. We obtain probably 10 to minus normal gauge lengths, about 10 to minus 7 maximum. We wait a lot. We cannot do many PhD theses with 10 to minus 7 because it will last very long. And this is what I just mentioned. There is equivalence between what is called creep curves. Both are in tension, for instance. Don't forget, it's compression or tension. We can conduct compression creep test or compression or tension constant cross-head speeds. And at the end, we obtain the same values. We have strain rates, or we have stresses, and here we have strain rates and stresses. This is a typical, I'm not going to go into detail. There are plenty of machines. In series we have 3 or 4. This is one of the first. And this is a lot of quick machines. Why the Japanese? This is a steel institute in Sakuba. This is close to Tokyo. Well, because they didn't want to extrapolate. We are talking about 10 to minus 11, the second minus 1. And they obtain data, but they wanted to be sure that the piece or the component, steel, usually it's a steel component, it will last what they say. And that, okay, there is as far as I know, there is an experiment going on. It's already 47 years. This, and they are obtaining right now is the component here in these machines is about 10 to minus 7. 10 to minus 11, 7, 10 times minus 11. This is for 47 years. So they know precisely what is going to have to happen in that piece, a simulation. So, for instance, for gas turbines, should work 20 years. This is about the strain rate that is necessary. We, in the lab, the minimum strain rate is about 10 to minus 2. Okay, now, very fundamentals and very few words only on what I call carpentry work. I mean, things that we need to predict what is going on in a given piece or a given component. Okay, this is the curve that we have. We can change the stresses, or we can change the temperatures. And in these constant process speeds machines, the same thing. We can change the temperature, we can change the strain rates, and at the end, we obtain values that we can use to predict this number. And then one important piece for this carpentry work is the Bachmann-Courant relation that you can read in the books, so you can go into detail. I'm not going to go much into detail. This is just to predict. This is useful to predict because we don't want to wait 5 years to see if a component is good, if it will come to rupture or not. So we don't need to wait 5 years. We make, for instance, two tests using this Bachmann-Courant relation, one 4-hour test and another, for instance, 6-hour test for a given steel. So in 10 hours, we substitute and we predict what is going on in 5 years. And I go very fast here, I make a pre-test, and we go very fast to rupture. In this case, we can obtain this constant. This constant is in this case 0.15, and then we make a short-term test, but only to steady state. Because here is this trade rate for steady state. Now, for instance, in 6 hours, we start the steady state here, and then since we know the constant, we divide this. And for instance, in this case, this is of waiting 5 years. We predict 5 years the lifetime, and in this case, it's only for 10 hours. So carpentry work to predict what is going on in a given material. These are the typical curves for the engineer that they use to predict life. For instance, say for a steel, this type of stainless steel, 1625 nickel at 704 degrees Celsius, we have this type of curves. You can read, for instance, in detail or in other mechanics books. You can read and you can go into detail. For instance, you can define rupture strength, which is very important. You can define the creep strength. Creep strength, for instance, here we go. Here is time, 100,000 hours, and that means that we have to apply maximum 12,000 psi to be in steady state, so we will be safe. So this is the type of data that engineers use to predict and to be sure that your part, your component is okay. This is another type of, this is Ruano's stress temperature curves, and then we have the problem of usually a component you allow to have 0.2% deformation. Doesn't matter if you have less than that. And then this curve is Ruano's stress temperature curves predict, for instance, what is the maximum stress that the material can support for instance, at 1,000 Kelvin. So you go here, and then the maximum stress is 200. This is predictions without being 5 years tested. Another and very famous prediction, I'm not going into detail. This is the Larson-Miller parameter. You will see a lot of papers and a lot of especially introduction books on creep, where you have this Larson-Miller parameter determination, and this is just to predict the lifetime of a component if you change the temperature. For instance, if you want to wait 10,000 hours, which is a lot of money, a lot of time, at 650, what you do is you go to 800 and you use only 4.5 hours. And you should have the same result. And in the case of a shorter time, term, if you have to work a component at 800 degrees Celsius, you go to 950 for 1.5 hours and you will get what you want. You have here, it's just an observation, it's very famous. I don't believe in this, but it's very famous, so everybody uses it. This is a seed, which is like a miracle component. One knows this is about -20, so it's completely empirical. You put -20 and you get these predictions. You see that this is proportional to strength rate, this is proportional, and this is for different stress. You see that curves are not parallel. I believe in parallel curves, not in this convergent curves. But again, the life for the components is used by the engineers. The engineer doesn't understand mechanisms, they don't care about mechanisms, it's like the black box. So you put this constants in the weekend. I like much more, of course, the Sherry Dorn, which are parallels, which has a physical meaning that I will describe. Another very well known is the Hanson-Hafer parameter. This is for the same thing. You increase the temperature with respect to the work temperature, and you see what is the lifetime of the component. Before moving to the next fundamental question, I wanted just to say that the history of grid is very old. It's 1833. There was Picatis, a French person that investigate, look the very nice words. Un homme progressif de fruit de cette soumise à diverses régions. And then in 1885, the patience. Greek was called patient, which is exactly tiempo. You have to wait. You have to wait and you will see what you have. In 1940, Andrade, who starts working on a lot of components, it was very important in the industry to measure the mechanical behavior at high temperature, and then introduce it. And I have no time to go over this, but if you are interested, you will have here the slides to check this things. Okay, now I want to go fundamentals of high temperature deformation mechanism. Now, this is more for the students and for the scientists to understand what is going on. And as I mentioned, I'm going to try to give you information boxes. You have to go later to books to understand. And indeed, I'm going to give only general ideas, as Teresa asked. Just general ideas, don't go into detail of the questions. Information boxes means that I'm going to be very simple. You see very simple microstructures. Just a pure metal, or a simple two-phase alloys. Aluminum. This is aluminum with a lot of zinc, and this part is zinc with a lot of zinc. This is very simple. I am not going to go into this complicated, like a superalloy that behaves very difficult to understand. This is the typical behavior for a scientific paper. But since I'm going to keep in fundamentals, I'm not going to treat this. I'm not going to go to talk about this, and I'm not going to talk about a special new mechanism by creating by arts at all that is attaching, detaching dislocation and precipitation. This is also an effect of high temperature in very special systems. And again, this is the fundamentals of the ideas I just gave. Just to finish this part, you have different in this case, a cross-hex machine. You have different strain rates, and you get the stresses. And here you have different stresses, and you get the slope, you will get the strain rate. And all of them will go to this type of graph, and here the slope of this curve is the stress exponent. Very important to get this stress exponent, which is the inverse of the strain rate sensitivity exponent. So 1/n is equal here, the other one, the inverse. And the distance between this curve is proportional to the activation energy for creep. For creep, nothing to do with diffusion, just for creep. So we can determine for every single material, we can determine these two important components, N and Q. There is another way of, because here you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 samples. We can simplify this, and experimentally we can determine the stress exponent very simple, just by varying the strain rate during the test. So you can trust this. We have made there's different ways. So in doing this, just changing the strain rate, we can obtain this, the whole curve, in one sample. So one sample, one set of values. Okay, now a little bit of fundamentals, a little bit of theory. We have the formula analysis that we have strain rate, and it's a function of temperature, stress, and S is a parameter that is related to microstructure. So we have this formal constitutive equation for creep. this, the strain rate is a function of something related with microstructure, then exponential Q, which is the parameter that we determine, experimental, and then this N, this is another parameter. So Q and N. But we have to prove this. This is just a constitutive equation that I'm giving and telling that is true. But that we have to go into detail. And for one thing, before continuing, and this is also a matter of belief, it's a matter of philosophy. There are many people in Europe, especially in France, now every time less and less, but that many people in France, they believe that the constitutive equation is not the one that I'm going to develop. The constitutive equation is something related with this. And this is just like a chemical reaction coming from airing in the ferries, where you have an activation energy, and then you have this, and this corresponds to the activation area, and this location have to move to overcome the obstacle. I don't believe in that, so I'm not going to talk about this, and you have to go into another books to understand this. I'm going to talk about high temperature, and that will not apply, So I'm not going to talk about this. I am not going to talk about, which is the same, you have here in my PhD thesis I have to use, but it was a very long, I worked in titanium at 300 degrees. 300 degrees is 0.2 or 0.2 or 0.3 melting point, so it's a quite a low temperature. It could be applied to very low, medium, low temperatures, but not at high temperatures, and I'm going to talk only to high temperatures. And this is what you will see in the book. You have here, you will press this against the obstacle, this is the energy of the barrier. You move, you press here with my machine, this rotation here, and this is the thermal energy. To overcome the obstacle, you have thermal energy and mechanical energy. And this is an activation volume, you see, activation volume. And the volume is location to overcome this obstacle, have to go over area times work vector, and this is an activation volume. This is a parameter that I think cannot predict. It doesn't bring anything. But again, this is a predict that perhaps is not fair. Because many scientists use this. So I put it what I believe. It's a matter of belief. This is my sleep. This location creep or sleep critical equation. Here. And you see the first thing is no dependence on grain size. And this is a very well-known Sherry-Dorn equation. And this is for a steady state and high stopping for energy material. And now we have to prove it. Okay, you say that, it's fine. We can use to correlate our data, but is this true? And the question is, yes, it is true. You can go to Teresa and Kastner, they publish a very nice summary in Progress Material Science 2000, where you have many information, and one of this information is for all type of materials, FCC, BCC, HCP, you have, this is the stress exponent, this is 5, and this is all of them, they have about, for many materials, they have about n=5. So you have this value. And if you calculate the A exponent, A here, the 3 exponential exponent, and this is 10 to the 11 for high stopping for energy balance. I remind you, most of FCC there are high stopping for energy materials, and all BCC, of course, they are high stopping for energy materials, and also many HCP, hexagonal, those packet systems, they are also high stopping for energy. If you go into the details on this, this is the stopping for energy proportion. You see aluminum is high, copper and bronze and silver is low, but most of these materials will correlate to this 10 to the 11 and 5 here. And in the paper from Teresa, you have one of this, you can also use the same equation. This is just to demonstrate that we have not a grain size dependence on the strain rate. Many people believe, oh well, if I have a material and then you change the grain size, the creep behavior will be different. No, it will not, in principle, it will not be different. You have the same strain rate for any grain size. And this is demonstrated, you know this, by Wilshire and by Shirley, and I'm not going to detail, but you are welcome to take a look at this. The second thing I have to demonstrate, because I didn't want to go to the activation energies and all the things, and why do you not like this? Well, I don't like this because of this. If we have, this is a diffusion experiment. This is not a creep experiment. This is just diffusion. This is the chemist who go with radiotracer data and calculate diffusivity of chemicals. And if you go to alpha to gamma, this is an iron. You see at 910, you have here the alpha is BCC, it's an open structure. The diffusivity is high. And as soon as you change to a closed structure, it will diminish these 2 orders of magnitude, more or less. Okay? And this is a prediction from the chemist, from diffusivity. Nothing to do with creep. And now we make an experiment in creep, and we go first to the alpha ion, and you will have this, and then you change the temperature, and you go to gamma iron, and you have exactly the same amount in strain rate as this. It means for us that this is proportional to the diffusivity, lattice diffusivity. We are talking about lattice diffusivity. Difusión en volumen for Spanish. Okay, this is, if you don't like the changing the law, you may have also thallium. Thallium is inverse. This is chemist. This is radiotracer data, and you have alpha. The alpha is a closed packet structure, so the diffusivity is low, and it changes as soon as you change the phase transformation. It goes to beta as an open, it will increase. You may now creep test here, strain rate versus 1/t, which is proportional to the population unity. You have exactly the same thing. So you have only here examples of 2 materials, but that can go also to the paper of Teresa. You have all these materials that you see this is 45 degrees. This is for creep, activation energy for creep, and this is the self and diffusion activation energy for the chemist. So you have a very good correlation. That's a test to the validity of this equation. And now it's another fundamental question. You say, well, is this location? These locations are moving, and this is the responsible of the formation. And now it comes to the accommodation mechanism. Yes, everything occurs by dislocation movement, by sleep. But now, will that control the strain rate? And the answer is no. Will not control the strain rate. The strain rate is controlled by because the strain rate is not dependent on temperature, on the diffusivity of the materials. When we are saying that we have diffusivities are very important, and that what is controlled is by climb, trepado or escalada in Spanish. Climb dislocations, and the idea is the material will slip very fast, and it will encounter an obstacle, and in order to overcome the obstacle, have to climb. And how do we climb? We climb. It is climb. This is the dislocation, obstacle, and it's climbed by diffusion of vacancies to the core of the dislocation. So, and we have diffusion, and because climb is controlled by diffusion, we have that the strain rate, because it's the slowest process. We have 2 processes: sleep, and then we have climb, which is slower. Since it is interdependent, the slowest is controlled. The slowest process is climb, and that's why the strain rate is dependent on diffusion, self-diffusion. Okay, now I can do probably 5 minutes more. Microstructural changes. What is going on when we have a sleep creep, and all these things? What is happening with the microstructure? The basic idea is soft grain formation. We have soft grains are forming during deformation. You see, this is how the grains They are very elongated because it's 85% of deformation, so we have elongated grains. And what you see here, this is small things. This is the subgrains. So this is the typical elongated grains and subgrains formed in the material. And this is a high magnification picture. You have the grains, you see a very big grain, and here the subgrains, probably 4 or 5 grains. And the correlation is this. The correlation is this. The subgrain size, and this is a very fundamental and very important thing, the subgrain size is proportional, inverse proportional to the stress. The higher the stress, the lower is the subgrain size. This is a very fundamental, very important, it's applied. It will not depend on deformation. People think, wow, we have a lot of deformation, subgrains will be a stress. No, it will depend on stress. And this is a very nice deformation from 1979 from También and Grimes, who took an aluminum with different concentration of magnesium. So this is the stress strain curves. You see, this is soft. Every time it's more is more. The steady state stress is every time higher. Now, you take the microstructure to be pure, is this. You have 65 microns subgrain size. If you go to here with 1% magnesium, you have 45. And if you go to here with 5 magnesium, that you have here about 35 megapascals, you have 25. So 65, 45, 25. So this is exactly. But this occurs using this equation. This is still the equation. Here you see n equals 5, and we call that, this is deformation, the slip creep deformation by changing microstructure during the experiment. Changing microstructure when we are testing. And now, okay, there are a lot of examples, there are hundreds of examples, so I'm not going to go into detail. But what happens when we have precipitates, for instance, nanomaterials, precipitates, oxide dispersion alloys, for instance, and this is steels. What happens with the microstructure? We'll apply also the same thing, and the answer is no, because this equation with n equals 5 is not fulfilled because the substructure is not changing. So it's a fundamental thing. We have a slip creep with changing the microstructure, n equals 5. Slip creep where the subgrains are not changing, then we have n equals 8. And why are not changing? Because when we change the stress, the subgrains at the beginning are formed and cannot vary because they are tied by the precipitates. They are constant subgrain structure. And that's why it's called this dislocation creep with constant substructure. So it's another type of slip creep mechanism. So at the end, so okay, there are a lot of examples. You go to Shelby developed that in the 80s, so it's at the end of the 70s, and there's a lot of materials. Look at this is mostly with oxide particles to tie to pin the subgrain structure. So at the end we have 3 types of slip creep equations. This is the conventional one with variable grade size. This is what I'm just talking here with constant subgrain size with n equals 8. And then we have one that refers to deformation at very high strain rates. And we are talking high strain rates above 10 to -2 seconds minus 1. And this is, I'm going to go just very little because I have no time. I'm going to go very little on this equation. And you see this is a sinus hyperbolic sine equation with an n exponent that, okay, we don't care now, probably is about 5. If we have some hypotheses. But in general, Here the important part, we have an equation for the slip creep, but with an hyperbolic sign. And just for the hyperbolic sign, we have demonstration of that. And when the answer is yes, you take a material like this, a pure aluminum, and you test a very high strain rate. If the temperature is not very high, what? I didn't do it. You have a sign here that goes up according to this equation, but more important, this is another fundamental thing. There are in some cases, for instance, this is one titanium with titanium 6-4 with 1.2% titanium borides. You don't have this hyperbolic sign branch. We have more or less constant power law, because if you forget this is a power law equation. But look what is going on here. It's changing with temperature. This is high temperature, lower, lower, lower. This is 5. This is good for this, but here is 7, here is 8, here is 9. In those cases, we are applying also the hyperbolic sign equation. This is the Garofalo equation. And the basic and the philosophical question is, nature works with power law, or nature works with hyperbolic sign equation? This is something that is still in discussion, so we don't know. But it could be also like a nature, a law for nature is not power law, it's an hyperbolic sign law. If you use this hyperbolic sign part, you see that everything correlates very, very, very nicely in pure aluminum, in others, 27 orders of magnitude, strain rate compensating. Okay, here, up to here is, I said, is not dependent on grain size. And that is, we have, at low temperature, we have the so-called whole edge relation, where stress is proportional to 1 over d 1/2, which means that the finer the grain size, the tougher is the material, the more resistant is the material. But now at high temperatures, when we have fine, very fine grains, now is dependent, strain rate is dependent on grain size. And is exactly opposite to low temperature. So the stress is proportional to the probably square, sometimes to the cube. And now the question is what's going on. You just told us that strain rate will not depend on grain size. Okay, now opens a discussion. This is an example. We have here 5, so it goes to about 2. And in this case, it's pure magnesium with porcelain Jones. We have 5 or 6, and it goes to 1. And in this case, it's Rebecca cobalt also. We have 5, and it goes to 1 here. So what is going on? And this is a hint that something different from sleep creep is occurring. And now that opens a lot of discussions above after 1948, that this region was discussed. The first thing, and just here is a very fundamental thing you may have when the strain rate is dependent on grain size. You may have 2 mechanisms that are different from sleep creep. Different, nothing to do now. I'm going to start something that has nothing to do with sleep creep. And one is this nice picture that you will see repeated in every single creep or mechanical properties. You see the same picture. So not variation. Everyone repeats, taken from this and just reproduce. So very little analysis on this microstructure. But the idea of this, you have Nickel 1 that was conducted by Squires in 1963. This is a magnesium 0.5 zirconium, and this was hydrided. This strings is zirconium hydrides. And these are just markers. And what you can see, and I'm going to explain, that is the result of diffusional flow. And then we'll see it here. And this is another mechanism where strain rate is dependent on grain size, inverse dependent. And this is Bendorf as for 1912, so it's a very long time ago, and they measured N equal 2, Jenkins in 1928. So there is a lot of evidence of grain size dependence and very low N values. Not 5, it's 1 or 2. And now, this is Frank Navarro. I met him in 1990 in a meeting. He's a very nice fellow, just died. He's a genius, as a matter of fact, not only on creep, he worked in air mechanical properties. He's a very good man. And then he made a wonderful theory, I have to say, and he called that diffusional creep. And this is one of the terrible names that you can give, because this is just a special type of deformation. Nothing to do with dislocation creep. Dislocation creep is also diffusional creep. And grain boundary slider that we will see later is also diffusion, depends on diffusion. Everything depends on diffusion. But he called that diffusional creep, and we kept that name, but it's confusing. It's confusing. I think it's a terrible name, it should be changed. I used to call that Navarro herring or Navarro creep, which is more proper to differentiate, because everything is, as I mentioned, everything depends on diffusion. I'm not going to go into details, but this is just nothing to do with dislocation, just there is a diffusion of vacancies from this type of region. This is the stress, this is attention test. There is a component here that is pressing the atoms in the inverse sense. It's pressing the atoms in here, and it will go, the atoms will flow here, you will have an elongation, and these are called denuded zones. It's very well known, every single textbook you have denuded zones in the material. And this is because of this flow of atoms from this boundary that is subjected to tension to this boundary that is more free. Here's compression, so this is compression, and here we will have tension. So this means that magnesium has by diffusion has gone from here to this boundary to this boundary. It was squares 16. And then he developed these equations just by pure cut. This is no fudge factor, nothing assumed. That's wonderful, as I mentioned, wonderful theory. And he develops Navarro herring here. Cobol in 1963 said, okay, well, it goes through the lattice, but it could go also through the grain boundaries. And we have the same effect, and that's why we have diffusivity along the grain boundaries. So as I mentioned, it's a wonderful theory, but this is also philosophy. You have to accept my critics. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because grain boundary sliding is more important than this. Because again, I have never written this in a publication, but I have demonstrated that probably in most cases that doesn't exist. But the theory is very nice. And okay, this is materials. I have no time to go over. I think everybody knows that superplasticity occurring in long systems, for many systems in metals and many systems in ceramics. So even as was 1996, this is 40 years later than the discovery of grain boundary sliding superplasticity in metals. You have also very nice. This is YTCP ceramics. You have 800 deformation. Wonderful for ceramics, 800% deformation. This is around the test in semin, 2000%. And of course the field of superplastic materials and grain boundary sliding in the gold. This is when Underwood did a museum of all the experiments in 1962, so it went up in 1994. So it went up, and now still it's a steady state. There's a lot of those papers on superplasticity and grain boundary sliding. And again, here we have two processes, and this is one question that I got. Here we have superplasticity have to be explained by grain boundary sliding. Grain boundary sliding means that in these boundaries slide on each other. But you can imagine when this boundary slide over here, you will have here some cavities and some stresses and something very bad things that it will, if you don't close this, it will rupture. So we will have no superplasticity, but just a mess. So we have to close this, and how we think it close these holes, these cavities, by accommodation process that controls the strain rate because it is slowest. So we have two processes again. Grain bundle is likely very fast, and then we have a slower process that is very difficult to demonstrate. Probably slip, creep, climb of these locations, but close to the boundaries. Nothing to do with a slip in a given system that we just saw. It is not. It is just along these grain boundaries that gives the n equal to. But this is empirical. We cannot demonstrate. Nobody has demonstrated. We think that this is the way. And this is okay. And that brings a whole new field of deformation. The grain size is very important. After 2000% deformation, you have equiaxial grains, but imagine if you have slip, you will have strings, not grains. It's important the hardness of the second phase, and then the nature, mobility, and the structure of the grain bundle is important. And you have texture. The texture disappears in a material. And this is hundreds of papers on this. And I'm not going to have time to see that every single point has been correlated to experimental data. And this is okay. This is the material. This is an example of equiaxial grains. We have equiaxial grains at the beginning of the sample, and after 2000% deformation, equiaxial grains are existing. So no grain elongation, no slip, because no slip creep. But a little bit of grain growth, but equiaxial grains. And then this is very nice evidence in the microscope, in the TN, where for instance you see a grain here, and with deformation, the grain change neighbor grains, and disappear the grain while it is created. So grains are, you have to imagine the space, it's coming in, going out, and changing neighbors during deformation. And another thing that I was saying, no dislocation in the N=2 region, no dislocation activity, no subgrains, no dislocations, almost no dislocations, very little. Dislocation gets below, and then in this region, yes, in this region you have subgrains, cells, subgrains, and so on. Texture disappearing, this is an example, this is as received, and after, this is the intensity of the texture as received, and then after deformation, this is probably 200% deformation, you have a reduced intensity, and if you measure that in the slip region, you have reinforcement of the texture component. Example, and this is not only at this strain rates. If we reduce the grain size, we will have superplasticity even on 10 to the 2. We predict 10 to the 2 second times 1. And it has to be proved. At least there is high strain rate superplasticity at 10 to the 1. It has been demonstrated, it has been published in Nature recently, 5 or 6 years ago. Just to conclude, is that this is, you know this book? No? This is the Bible for the mechanical, for the materials engineering. This is Ashley. Ashley is like God in the 80s and the 90s. He was the head editor of Alta Metallurgical, so everybody was with Ashley. Ashley was like a god. So he controlled and he decided everything in mechanical properties and in general material science. And published this. This is the 400 book on the formation mechanism maps. And you can see here this type of maps. You have here power law creep, dislocation creep. This is also dislocation creep. This is another type that he invented dislocation with everything is dislocation creep. And at low shear stresses, diffusional flow. But diffusional flow for 100 microns, and even diffusional flow on 1 millimeter, which is nonsense. You cannot have diffusional flow at so big criticizes because the Navarro-Herring equations will predict very extremely low strain rates. And there is a competition between dislocation creep, grain-boundary slide, and diffusional flow. And in this case, they are separated, they are independent processes. Which one is controlled? The fastest is controlled. If you have an accommodation, the slowest is controlling. And now is the fastest controlling. And of course, diffusional flow is controlled. He mentions all these maps, he has like 200 maps. Diffusional flow. And where is grain-boundary sliding? Well, he never believed in grain-boundary sliding. And this is already in the 80s. This is not a region for grain-boundary sliding. So that means that even a very general didactic from George Litter, mechanical metallurgy, in 1986, you have reproducing Ashley, cobalt creep, dislocation creep, you see, Navarro-Herring creep, and no grain-boundary sliding. Why is not grain-boundary sliding? Well, because nobody gave a real equation for grain-boundary sliding. Or in other words, you have the equations for diffusional flow, you have the equation for slip creep, and these are equations that we found, Sherry and myself, we used it at Stanford to correlate the data. And why it doesn't exist? Because all these people, Ball, Hutchins, and these are very well-known scientists, given the equations like this, but with these K constants that are empirical. So nobody knew which one of these 10 equations was used. Only Ashley Burrell was using this equation, but this equation is for n equal 2, n equal 1. Here, n equal 1 after some stress, of course. So n equal 1, but we have seen that for all these materials, you have n equal 2. This line corresponds to n equal 2. So what's going on there? Why not using this? So what we did is empirical, of course. We took as the reference equation for grain-boundary sliding this equation. This equation goes through the middle of all these n equal 2 materials. And in this case, it was calculated also for n equal 2 materials, one for d squared and one for the cube, and going to n. So now we have one equation for, two equations for diffusional flow, two equations for grain-boundary slide, and one equation for diffusional flow. Now we can let us compete and see which is the fastest in order to control information. We did that in a very cited paper here at Helsinki in 1982, and then at 25 for all these materials. And then we found that the predicted was also a region Hashatoria, and we're going to enter. Predicted here also cobalt, but most of this, all this data, what in this region, this is grain-boundary sliding region. So we think that that grain-boundary sliding is the mechanism controlling deformation at lower stresses, and low strain rates, more or less, and not diffusion. And I wanted to go over some concepts, but I have time, so next time perhaps I just a list of fundamentals I'm going to talk about concepts. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I would really like to hear the topic about So any question for Steve?
So very interesting review. I have a lot of questions. But the first one, if you have a pure metal, no obstacles, and you're at high temperature, I don't see why climb or glide should be so important, because there is no obstacles for the dislocation to glide freely. So the expressions that you have spoken about the frames, for example, to overpass by thermal activation the lattice resistance, and that should work okay. I don't see why, if you don't have obstacles, you have to have some importance of
Okay, you never have completely pure metals. You have some alloying elements. Is one thing. The other thing is that you have dislocations. As soon as you start the deformation, you have a lot of dislocations. You change from 10 to 8 centimeters minus 2 to 10 to the 8. As soon as you go over 10%, so you have obstacles. You have all kinds of obstacles also. You have no grain boundaries. Perhaps it's the most important, that's why it's not dependent on grain boundaries, but you have always a lot of obstacles.
Okay, so dislocation forest will be the...
forest or another type of dislocations, even free dislocations.
Well, and just summarizing the other question about grain boundary sliding, that I've always read what most people claim, that I thought that it has not the importance that you have said. Experimentally, it has been observed, for example, in a material, in magnesium or whatever, that you really have a big component of grain boundary sliding. You observe really the sliding between the two grains?
Yes.
Okay, that's...
There is, I mentioned only 2 or 3 evidence. There are thousands of evidence that regarding dislocation activity, regarding texture, regarding the second phase, regarding how it's a key axis, especially if you see a sample, you test the sample, and then you deform it 40%. And if the grains remain a key axis, you have reverse sliding. If you make a texture, it's very easy. You just a cross texture, you only go into analysis, you go to PSD or not, just make an analysis, and you have a reinforcement, you have a slip grip. If you don't have a reinforcement, you have grain boundary sliding. So it's a lot of evidence that...
It's curious because, for example, from a modeling viewpoint, we have the possibility of including grain boundary sliding to the grain boundaries of 2 crystals, and we have done everything to include them. And we have
crystals?
Yeah, in a polycrystal, between two crystals. So we have that possibility, and we have never used it, because I always thought, and I really believe in that this mechanism was negligible, and that really you don't have to account for that.
No, you will have always a grain boundary sliding, also single crystal. Just it's not controlling, because you have so few grain boundaries or no grain boundaries that the strain rate, the strain rate is inversely dependent on grain size. You have a huge grain size, and therefore you have a very low strain rate. So it's not controlled because the slip creep is taking over. So you will have some influence of grain boundary sliding. It's just that it's not
controlling mechanism.
It's not controlling deformation.
In that case, it's more like an accommodation mechanism.
In the case of single crystals?
No, in the case not single crystal, but in the case, for example, when you have a last example, but you are explaining now, if it is not controlling because the grain size is large and you have a low, the formation associated with this mechanism is very low, you can still act, but it would be like a accommodation or a minor contribution.
A minor contribution is more like a minor contribution. It's a minor. You will have also everything. You have happeton, and you will have diffusional flow, and I want to believe that it is true, but that is very, compared to the slip.
One experimental question. We are specialized in a group on making experiments, mechanical experiments at small scales, micro scale. For example, to micrometers and compressing them, and we are trying to implement a way of measuring the strain rate sensitivity, and we are using this strain rate jumps.
Strain rate?
Jumps. The jumps.
Yes.
And we have 2 fundamental questions. One is, doesn't the amount of plastic strain have an influence? Because you are doing the steps at different strains, so would that have an effect on the strain rate sensitivity that you measure? And the second question is, sometimes you get very soon strain localization effects, and we still keep doing some jumps afterwards, and we always measure the same strain rate sensitivity. So I wanted to have your opinion whether you think it's valid to do a jump after strain localization.
If you don't have, everything is referring to a steady state.
Yes.
So you have to go to a steady state. If you don't have a steady state, you cannot do almost anything. So the jumps, the first jump You have to go to steady state,
Yes.
and then make the jumps. And then you have to prove that after the jumps, you come back to the steady state. If there is a variation, then you cannot get a lot of information.
So assuming that you're in the steady state, what about having the jumps done at different plastic strengths? Doesn't the dislocation?
Yeah, because you are in steady state, and it will not affect. So you will have the stress the same at different jumps of the stress referred to the strength. I have to say that with Fernando we were working also, if this is some variation in the microstructure, we can get also some information. But then it's risky, it's just an extrapolation of this, but we can get also, even if you have, it's not very big, we may have also some information.
It is very interesting. In fact, I like a lot the jumps. The thing is, in this moment, this jump is good. I mean, if we do a lot of jumps and make us maybe shifting a little bit, you know, okay, it may, let's say that there is some hardening or softening or something like that. Okay, I will tell you. This jump is good, okay? Later, you may have a little bit different microstructure, but that jump will be good for that microstructure. You know? So you can say, okay, maybe with this, let's say, dislocation density, I have this n with a bit more another n, but usually probably is not the same. The thing is, at the end, everything should be consistent. So you probably see, okay, this is more or less good, although there is some.
We have done it and we see trends and we see, I mean, we have some state hardening and we do the jumps. The stress sensitivity that we obtain at different plastic strengths is almost the same.
Yes.
Although we know that the information density might be different because we have state hardening. But then when we try to defend this, a lot of people have concerns because they say, well, this the microstructure is not the same, so we get a meaningful result, but sometimes it's difficult to justify that the method is good. You know?
Yes, in this case, I would say the n values are good. Although if you put all the stresses, you know, in line, you will get, you know, yes, it is changing. If you put, but you see that this n sacrifice is good for n because the stress components.
Maybe you can compare pairs. No? So if you are in one microstructure steady state and it changes to another strain rate, and for these two, you can really, because you're sure that you have the same microstructure.
Yes.
And then you can do like 2 by 2, I don't know why.
Yes, two.
If you do in pairs, then you are sure that
Yes,
you have the
for
same.
a lot of strain jumps, maybe jumps very far away, you cannot compare with the previous, but by two, in pairs, I think they are.
Which means it really depends on the system.
Yes, yes, it depends. The thing is, when you have constant, as Oscar said, if you have all a steady state, meaning that you don't have any hardening nor shortening, everything is perfect. And you can put all the jumps in line, and you have a straight line. But when there is only little things, or the microfibers have a different area, you know, it is, you know, shifting a little bit, well, you could correct that, and then you say, for this jump, in this situation, this stress exponent is good. Okay? Because, let's say, the microstructure is the same in this jump. Okay? Later, shifts a little bit. Yes.
Any other questions? My last question.
No? One last question?
As far as we know that in magnesium alloys, the applied stress is under its yield point. Therefore, does a dislocation variety occurs during
Under the G point.
under its yield point? So the dislocation, whether the dislocation variety exists during
No, it's not. The formula plastically is a concept is under at a higher, at a lower temperature. But if it is, all of these are under. But which dew point at which temperature? That temperature. Dew point refers to.
And as we know that especially in medium GD alloys, the yield point is around 180 megapascal, and what would apply to the stress is around 100 megapascal. And in this case, that's the dislocation grinding exists during creep.
Yeah, but you have a dependence on the strength rate. Very big.
Because it is the elastic gradient, how does the dislocation arrive during this period?
That's the answer. It's time. No questions. No questions. Since I'm going to leave here this topic, discussing 1 minute for the conference. It's very nice. I forgot to finish that. So only 1 minute. This is very nice. So we went into we introduced the squares and the additional flow and so on. We went into the same material, and then we look at the microstructure, and we discovered not our results, their results. We discovered what? We discovered the unit zones here, and this is n equal 4. And we discovered the unit zones here. This is 500 degrees Celsius. The unit zones there. What's going on? I mean, you have to have n equal 1. It's the diffusion of law n equal 1. So the first question. So the scientists did something wrong. The prediction, if you go to the equations, we cannot manipulate the equations. As I mentioned, they are very nice equations. Look at the prediction. The predictions are here. And the data is this. What is going on? So nobody took a look to this. This is the evidence of the diffusion of flow. And then more than that, this is we for actually trying to destroy us. It took like 1.5 years. And now it's accepted. Now we took their pictures that from another scientist that worked on this system, and then we obtained on the solvent precipitates in these the unit zones here just on one side of the border. So incredible. That is this is the first process. Probably doesn't exist. This is what I am saying. Yeah, don't say anybody because you're trying to destroy them. We will not publish any paper more. And the other one is, especially the surrounding people, they believe in Ashby-Barrel. Ashby-Barrel is n equal 1. It's a kind of two things. Yeah, okay, you have pre-boundary sliding because the experimental work there are 3,000 evidence of pre-boundary sliding. But everything is controlled by diffusion of flow, which is the important one. This is a change of Ashby after the years. Yes, it's a positive. And now if you go to this is just C22 aluminum, and he said, but how do you explain this? You have here 3 orders of magnitude, and with what he believes is that you have a threshold stress, as you can see of course. You put a threshold stress and you can predict everything. A threshold depending on temperature, grain size, it's a new parameter. And how do you explain then that you have 3 orders of magnitude? There are cases where you have 5 orders of magnitude n equal 2. If you predict n equal 1, he says, oh, this is a threshold here, is n equal 1 here, and then you have slip free. And this is just a transition between n equal 1 and slip free. But here you see the points, and you could never do another one. Against Ashby-Barrel, this is something incredible. Reading every single